you to one of our sisters online that has basically given me a scoop on this story, and it's a pretty cool one. Kuwait's tire graveyard with over 7 million dead tires poses a fire hazard and an environmental crisis, really, worldwide. And this was in the interestingengineering.com news. Here are some mind-bending facts. In 2019, over 3 billion vehicle tires were produced worldwide, and a typical tire will travel about 20,000 miles over the course of its lifespan. What makes this interesting is that when a tire outlives its usefulness, it's often recycled. However, in some parts of the world, it'll most probably end up in a tire graveyard. One such place is located in Kuwait City's Sulaibia neighborhood. Every year, huge holes in the sandy dirt are excavated and filled with old tires, resulting in tire mountains that can even be seen from space. There are currently over 7 million tires in the ground, according to numerous reports. However, not all of them are from Kuwait, as neighboring countries are allowed to send their own tire waste to the landfill for a fee. Of course, it has to be commercially driven somehow. What is at stake? Well, these discarded tires are one of the most problematic sources of waste due to their large volume in the market. Rubber. Can you imagine? Toxic rubber burning. And from this video, we can see this massive amount of tire burn happening. Look at this. Tire fires are pretty difficult to put out, and they create a lot of smoke that carries toxic chemicals like carbon monoxide and sulfur oxides, resulting from the breakdown of rubber compounds. From respiratory ailments to cancer, these substances can have short and long-term health effects. So, not good. And they burn way into the night. The fumes obviously travel kilometers, miles of distance, causing cancer. Moreover, tires release heavy metals and oil as they burn, which seep into the ground and water over time, polluting land and water. What's really interesting, of course, is that these are pictures that are problematic from a climate change perspective. Is there climate change? Well, there's God's wrath, as opposed to man's definition of what climate change really is. I mean, humans are having an impact on the earth, but of course this is all in the timekeeping of God's perfect plan, the unfoldment of the creation plan, which is showing us that man cannot manage his resources, man cannot manage the earth, and in essence, we're talking about the destruction of the earth. Mankind was given a world to take care of and look after, and the job wasn't done too well. Video material keeps coming in, showing horror after horror as these tires continue to burn. And I mean, we're talking, 700 million tires. I mean, this is... And as you can see, they have to spray down the tires of the actual vehicles that they're using to push away other tires into piles, because obviously they're subjected to the same heat source. So a very difficult situation to be in. So it's not looking good. And Kuwait is interesting because if we know where Kuwait is located, Kuwait is located north of Saudi Arabia. Well, it's in the Saudi Arabian landmass. It's north of Qatar. Kuwait is bordering pretty much Iraq. It's bordering on Iraq. If you look at close-ups of the map of Kuwait, you can see the Al-Zawar escarpment, and it's Kuwait itself. Kuwait has always been known for its oil reserves, oil deposits. It's right here on the border of Iraq and a stone's throw away from Iran. And it's interesting that this particular event should be happening at this moment in time because, again, we have to look at what's happening biblically and why this would have any kind of relevance right now. Historically, Kuwait was a highly strategic trade port between Mesopotamia and India. Oil reserves were discovered in commercial quantities in 1938. In 1946, crude oil was exported for the first time from Kuwait. From 1946 to 1982, the country underwent large-scale modernization, and in the 1980s, Kuwait experienced a period of geopolitical instability and an economic crisis following the stock market crash. In 1990, Kuwait was invaded and later annexed into one of Iraq's governorates by Iraq under Saddam Hussein. The Iraqi occupation of Kuwait came to an end in 1991 after military intervention by a military coalition led by the US. Kuwait is a major ally of China, a regional ally of ASEAN, and a major non-NATO ally. Now, what's interesting about Kuwait is that, as you obviously know, Kuwait is a Middle Eastern Arab country. It is a country that contains its flag, has got the colors of the horsemen of the apocalypse. You have the black horseman, the pale horseman, the white horseman, the red horseman, and it's a seafaring nation, as you can see from its emblem. And that's its locality. It's right there near the what biblically is really the center hub of the world. So yeah, we're definitely seeing a cradle to grave event happening right now in the world in terms of Kuwait. The Cobra Tower, if you know biblically, if you know the story biblically, I just want to show you something fascinating. There's actually a website called israelahistory.com, and it's got all of these really cool maps that you can download and have a look at how things have unfolded since biblical times. So really well worth having a look at. Cobra Tower in Kuwait, in Isaiah 40:22. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, God, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, we should say in a whisper, because it's so sacred and such a beautiful name and sounds. It has the sound of Father in it. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, Father. And its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. That's us. Who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in. And therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, Isaiah 7:14. And I wanted to basically let you know that a tower has dominated the skyline of Kuwait for quite a while. And this tower is it's cobra shaped. Now, anyone who worships Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh would not be worshipping a serpent of any kind. The serpent, this is the double helix. This is the again, tribe of Dan, D-N-A, Dan, D-A-N. It's not by chance that there's a parallel between the two. What we're seeing here is a cobra, and the United States tried to replicate the same cobra style tower with its World Trade Center. This World Trade Center, which made its way onto the same lot of land immediately after the demise of the famous King Kong stands with either leg atop the pre-2001 World Trade Center that was built between 1973 and had some amazing skylines that you could stand up and look from. But it was an asbestos-laden towers, and famous towers that dominated the New York skyline. But as we can see, they changed that. They changed that to a new kind of tower. And originally it was going to be far more in your face, serpent-like. The original design of the World Trade Center was going to be, the idea was that these, because here we go. The World Trade Centers were an indication. And one of Satan's big plans was to visually demonstrate this. You got to remember, through predictive programming, the enemy must elucidate, must indicate, show at all stages of the game what he's up to and what he is doing. And for this reason, there were two lines of humans, the two lineages of mankind that coexist on the earth, certainly not symbiotically, more like parasitically. The Messianic Adamic line and the tribe of Dan, the corrupted DNA, fallen angel Nephilim line that stem right out of Cain in the Garden of Eden. So these two lines of humans have attempted a coexistence here on the earth, and obviously that has not gone too well. To hearken in the end of times, the end of days, we saw the end of the towers. We're not even going to speculate on what happened. We kind of know what happened. I think any awake Christian knows what happened. And what they then did was they went about the process of building a substitute tower, one tower, which is indicative now of the intertwined races, the mixing of the DNA. The idea is the contamination of the Messianic line once and for all with the abomination of desolation in the third temple, that's us, on the back of what's happening physically, literally in the world, with the inputting into the bloodstream of iron. So yeah, we're seeing this played out, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing this from the perspective of the intertwined races of humanity, and it's a sign. It's a communication by the enemy to say that entering this new age, human beings will no longer be, in other words, the humans that are on the earth, the ones that are not prepared to be assimilated into this new plan of the enemy, are persona non grata. They're not allowed on the earth anymore. It's closing time. It's wrap-up time. The bar is closed. There's no more free drinks, and that's what's happening. There's an end, a closure to the game that's been played out for almost 6,000 years.